Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, thank you for tuning in to Being 40, for dialing in, tuning in. If you're watching from your phone, if you're watching from your TV set where you're seated, asante sana. I'm not sure which episode you're in, but we're just excited that you've been with us all through this journey. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much. And today we just want to touch on business relationships, business partnerships. You might be thinking of getting into a business partnership. You might be thinking you're already into a business partnership. Maybe it's going on well, maybe it's not going on well. You might be having issues or conflicts. All those angles. We want to see if we can touch a bit on each of those different areas. Of course, with me is Venus Chengo, my co-host of show Being 40 at 40. So Venus, talk to us.
Thank you, Frank, for that amazing introduction. And as I always like to say, we really appreciate all of you who have liked, subscribe to our channel, and there are those of you we have noted who keep on sharing our videos. So if you're watching us for the first time, please check out all our videos. We like to open up ourselves authentically into, and letting you into our world. And having walked our journey, up till this point where we are over 40, we want to share experiences and help you, become a better person, probably, help you avoid those loopholes that you may find yourselves getting into. So please keep your feedback coming. We really appreciate, and we always build our content based on your feedback. And Frank, well, let me just say this. Having gone through the Harvard Business School, hey, please, please. And of course, being certified as a certified business negotiator. Yeah. I believe you're well placed to tell us more about conflict in business relationship, because I believe we are human beings, and away from the structures and the systems that are there in business management systems, we tend to bring in our emotions, and probably by default end up in conflict, unwanted conflict. Have you experienced conflict being in that space, and how did you handle it?
So interesting. I think we experience conflict every other day in our lives. Children experience conflict. People in marriages experience conflict. People in businesses experience conflicts. Colleagues experience it everywhere across. Negotiation is a process. Negotiation is not a destination, right? When you start to negotiate something now, you need to appreciate the fact that there are milestones you need to cover. Not all negotiations have to end with a deal. Some deals you have to walk away because they just don't make sense, right? And the only way it's going to make sense is if you look at negotiation as a process, not an end game. Because you'll sign a deal today. There was a process that it took you to sign that deal. But signing the deal is the beginning of another negotiation process. Because we signed an agreement, you have 50-50 shareholding. We are going into execution or implementation. What are some of the things that the contract is saying around implementing? You'll keep on negotiating for a while, and you'll attest even in marriage is a lot of negotiation. Now bring this to the business context, right? There's conflict in business. And why do I think there's conflict in business? It is because people end up partnering with the wrong people. People end up getting into business for the wrong reason. In Kenya, everybody says you must have a side hustle. Everybody has 1, 2, or 3, 4 side hustles. Now, do you go for that side hustle with somebody because he has money, because he's a so-and-so? What drives you into getting into that partnership because you need a side hustle? Number one, and the key fundamental and basic thing that I would advise anybody getting into a new business venture: values and principles. The values and principles you're looking for in a marriage partner are the same values you should look for in a business partner.
So are you trying to say, Frank, that you should go into business with a friend? Because I feel from my own psychological perspective, as I like to put it, that friendship and business do not go, it's like water and oil. Because I think that's where we get it wrong. You are in this office with someone, and then after office hours, you go into their house and you start partying and all that. So I think there comes conflict. I feel if it's business, it should remain strictly business. You know your role in my life, and we just let it, well, once in a while it's good to have coffee and, but when we go overboard, I think we move away from the goals and the values. We bring in now empathy, sympathy, all those things, all those values that now bring a misconception into the business.
There's a yes and no to that. When you think of friendship, it depends on your type of friendship with that person, right? The other day we were having a conversation, and I remember I said, you meet somebody, you grew up with somebody in your early days, formative stages, and then you split ways or you went separate ways for like 20 years. Then you meet again.
Yes.
You cannot really consider that person as a friend per se, because within that 20 years, you don't know what happened.
Yes.
This person might have become a thief. This person might have been in jail. He might have become a pastor. He might have anything good or bad. So you need to fill that gap and understand first, who was this person in this gap? Most of us go into business partnership with people we grew up with. Then at some point, we disappeared. Then we came back 15 years later without understanding this 15 years gap. What was Frank doing? And then you just jump into what you knew when you were young.
Yes.
Remember the stage where this person was is different. Now that is one. You need to vet. Number two, you can go into business partnership with a friend or with somebody who you have similar objectives and vision.
Yes.
As long as the values are the same. Why do I say the more critical thing to look at is the values you look for in a wife or a husband should be the same values you look for in a business partner. Be it a friend, an acquaintance, or a colleague.
Okay.
Why? In marriage, and you'll attest, communication is critical. Integrity is critical.
True.
Honesty is critical.
True.
Patience is critical.
Correct.
Sacrifice is critical.
Oh, yes.
All these values, if you bring them into a marriage partner, you should be looking for these same values in a marriage partner. It's not rocket science.
Yeah.
So the moment you go into a business partnership with somebody, but you are not keen to vet this person the way you vetted your spouse, you just went in because I know Venus, you just went in because, my friend, it is bound to fall. When it comes to conflicts, you'll not be able to resolve because the base, the principles, the values are already eroded. That's the fundamental basic point that it starts. Now, number two, people who now find themselves into a business partnership and they did not do that vetting. Let me tell you, one, because there's no honesty, one partner starts stealing money or something has happened.
Correct.
The other partner is not time cautious, so they're not sacrificing for the business. The other partner feels like the other person is doing more. I'm not doing more because they never defined the scope. The other thing to avoid conflict when you get in is you must have a memorandum of understanding or a partnership agreement. Most people go in and say, Venus ni friend yangu, tumejuana.
Kabisa.
Meaning Venus is my friend, we know each other.
There's trust.
There's trust. Now, that trust is there because you are starting. You've invested 100,000 each. Wait until that money gets to 1 million, 10 million. That's when you start seeing real, but because you don't have a document to refer to, you cannot be able to resolve this conflict.
Okay.
But the moment the base, the values, the principles, there's a document which is a guiding principle. When conflict arises, you have a fallback plan. What is the MOU saying? What's your share percentage? What's your role? Did you do your role? How much are you supposed to earn and when do we pay? It reduces conflicts.
But do you think when it comes to conflict, because ideally, I like to approach certain, mostly, when I look at conflict, I look at personality. And truly, there are those personality types that are predisposed to conflict.
Yep.
And they have extremities.
Yes.
So, do you think it's very critical, even as you go into that understanding or as you go into a partnership,
Yes.
you know this person well? Because you see, it's one thing to be in a relationship, but when it comes to extremities,
Yes.
such that if I don't feel your vibe, I'll come and vandalize your business, I'll come and do stuff that will make both of us suffer,
Yeah.
and then you end up losing much more, because you see, you're a shareholder in the business, I'm a shareholder, you see, and it takes both of us to build this business together.
Yes.
But when I bring my human nature,
Yes.
you know, my personality, my, you know, into the business, we end up losing both of us.
Yeah.
We have seen cases whereby now, you know, people go into threats, people go into, you know, other extremities.
Yes, yes.
Don't you think that it is wise to really take time to vet this person,
Yes.
or even for those of us who are employed in, you know, in organizations,
Yeah.
you know, you look at those personality types and see if they are tailor-made
Yep.
for the business, because there's those spaces whereby you need someone who can go extreme.
It's true,
Okay.
and you see that's why it's critical when you're starting a business partnership. What is the role of each person? Before you get to the role, you'll have known probably up to a certain point who this person is. You have investors who come in and say, I'm just going to put in money, but I'll not run the business, but I want the profits. They're behind the scenes. There are people who say, I want to be in operations. I want to do marketing. Now, these definitions and these roles have to be identified. And to your point, when you're saying you must know the person, it is very critical. And that's the basis of any business when you start a venture. If an investor is coming to your business, the first thing they ask you, because they don't know you as a person, they want to do an analysis of your business, they want to see your marketing strategy, they want to see your finances, they want to see your audited financials, they want to understand what's your strategy, what's your expansion plan. Why are they doing all these audits? Because from the audit, it will tell them what type of partners you are. Because if somebody's coming and they want to put in the money, but your audited financial, your marketing, your strategy, everything is not clear, it reflects back to the owners. And they sit back and say, I cannot invest in this company. Why? Because you can tell the directors are careless.
Yeah.
How do they know? It's because of the documentation, the data that you provide. Now that is somebody you don't know wants to put money in your business. You cannot tell them with a word of mouth that, oh, by the way, these are our businesses. They'll say, no, I don't know you, right? Give me your accounts, give me your plan, give me your business plan, give me your strategy, and that helps, right? When it comes to other people like friends, and you need to know them, be it their anger, the type of personality they have, my dear, take your time. Don't partner with somebody because they have money. I want to partner with so-and-so because he's a millionaire. No. What are his values? Because with that million, he might come in, but you're going to work like a donkey, and he will sit back and say, I'm going to put in the money. You didn't put anything. Where are the values? So always go back to the values, go back to the basics. Bill George, Finding Your True North, talks about authenticity. You need to partner with people who are authentic, who are genuine, who can easily come out and show their vulnerability in terms of when there are issues and everything else. So, number one principle to avoid conflict, make sure you get the foundation right. But when you find yourself in a conflict, make sure you had an agreement, an MOU, a partnership agreement with clarity up to the force majeure, where it says in the event of, this is what happens. Yeah.
But when you talk about conflict, you know, conflict just doesn't happen. Okay, it can happen spontaneously, but it could also be a process. Okay. Now, in those cases whereby you are dealing with someone who has anger issues,
Yes.
and you've talked about MOU, like
Yes.
you know, a memorandum of agreement or understanding.
Yeah.
What do you think is the right approach to do in that time? Because there are those times where you just lose it, and I'll take something and hit you, and you know.
And you see, it depends. When you have a guiding document, a guiding principle that is guiding you, you've had you've had people who invented different companies, billionaires, being removed from owning the companies.
Yes.
Think of Uber, the owner of Uber. What happened? They felt this guy is mismanaging or something like that. And they had to put him aside. Why? There are documents in place. There is a board, there's something like that.
Okay.
But when you come back home to our basic agreements and all that, where we go wrong is, I'm getting into a partnership with my sister. And no, she's my sister. So tuko sawa. There's that mindset.
Yeah.
So the mindset has to shift. Every time we talk about, if the brain was an app, people would use it. Let's start using the brain now. Let's assume the brain is a phone or an app so we can use it. Don't go into a partnership because she is my sister, she is my brother, she is my friend. No. When the money comes in, you hear brothers killing each other, sisters killing each other over property. Why? It's because sometimes there's no clarity in terms of how do we divide this.
And conclusively, Frank, let me tell you, and let me just be very, very genuine. Me in my 40s, let me tell you, I don't trust anyone. I wouldn't want to partner with anyone. I think coming from a space whereby, well, I've never been in really a solid business, but I've tried to do, trade the usual side hustle.
Yeah.
And you find that the people who let you down are your friends. The people who will fight you are your friends. So I'm not in that, that space where I trust anyone. I'm not in that space where mentally I would want to partner with anyone. I believe it's me and God. So that's my approach, but as Frank likes to put it, my right is not the only right, yeah? And this, guys, is just our experience. What is your story?
Yes, guys, what really is your story? And, that's all about business relationship, business partnerships. I'm fortunate enough to have been either negotiated some deals, some partnerships, or being part of some partnerships. But what I've come to learn at the end of the day is values and principles remain the core fundamental of any successful business. If your partner doesn't have the right values or doesn't have the right principles, chances are high you're not going to go far. And when conflict arises, you come and realize the mistake was done in the basics. And that's why, like in relationships, they say, always go back to the basics. The answers lie there. Always, even the business, always go back to the basic and ask yourself, what did we do wrong? Where did the rain start hitting us? So don't create your own storm, and then when it rains, you start complaining. Go back, make sure the person you're partnering with, values are right, principles are right, and most important, you have an agreement. It's our story, guys, like we always say, and at 40, this is how we approach it. What's your story? And remember, our right is not the only right. So waiting to hear your story as well, and let's see how we can make business relationship flourish more. Thank you.
This is Being 40. Once again, guys, if you're watching us, please, other than liking and sharing, because I know you guys have liked, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Share this right now, even as you watch, start a watch party. Let us impact this generation, because knowledge is truly powerful. So once again, this is Being 40, and this is our story, Frank and I. Till next time, keep it locked. Guys, welcome once again. This is Being 40, and this is the Mind Spa moment where we talk about psychological facts. Now today we've been talking about business relationships, and especially, trying to focus on conflict. Now I don't want to say much, but there's something called mediation, and it is something that the Kenyan government has really embraced, especially when it comes to conflict. Now conflict happens in all spheres of life, where you have family, there's divorce, where there are businesses, where there's employee to employer relationships. But at the end of the day, we all need to be in a space whereby we can be able to handle issues of conflict with a lot of mental muscle. And sometimes truly we fail, because as we say, we are human beings and we are emotional beings. Now, when it comes to business issues, where there's conflict, I would really advocate for what we call mediation. And mediation is something that has really worked well in our country. I am a certified mediator, and I've handled quite a bit of issues, when it comes to conflict. And I've seen it really work well when it comes to divorce, when it comes to employee to employer relationship and all that, even business partner to partner, So what we are trying to say is sometimes you cannot really evade, this conflict. Sometimes you're really trying to make the relationship work. And because we are human and we have emotions, sometimes, it calls for an extra person to come and bring in the sanity that is needed. So if you're out there and you're going through issues, where you went into a business relationship with someone, probably it's just a kiosk, and you have an investor, a friend who's invested, and you're feeling that I'm not really in this space whereby I really want to continue. Please seek the services of a mediator, especially where you feel you're very inadequate in handling the issue. So to cut the long story short, because I love to talk, what I'm trying to say is when it comes to any kind of relationship, business or family, please, where there's conflict, seek for mediation. Once again, this is being 40 and this is the Minds Per Moment.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in. This is Brutal Fact with Frank Mola. I just finished the Being 40 session now. Thank you for watching, all right? And we're talking about business relationships and business partnerships. Now let me tell you, never start a journey and go and seek advice from somebody who's never left home. Number one. Number two, business partnerships. Make sure the person you're thinking and looking at being in partnership with, you're almost on the same stage. The gap should not be so much far apart. This means when you get into the partnership, the roles are well defined, who is supposed to do what is clear. Not that one person is going to be pulling the weight of the other person more. You must be together, all right? And like I said, before you get into business partnerships, do yourself a favor, right? Do yourself a favor. The values and the principles, very critical. You must make sure that you get the right values of the person you're looking at partnering with. Many a times what we do is we get together in our small chamas. For the women, we get together in our own, drink out areas, and men, we come up with all these plans like let's start a business venture and everything else. Because you feel you have something in common at that point, you need to take it a level lower. You need to have meetings. You need to define it. You need to do what we call design thinking. Break it down, right? Don't just go into partnership because he is my friend, she's my friend, she's my brother, he is my... Don't do that, because eventually it falls apart. Now, I'm not saying that all business partnerships don't work. No. We have families that business partnerships work so well, but you'll come and realize they are anchored in certain values and principles. In the absence of that, you cannot win, you cannot achieve. And even when it comes to conflict, you'll struggle to resolve the conflicts. Why? Because you are not anchored. You don't have the right documentation in the first place. I'll tell you one thing. Go and read the book, The Jewish Phenomenon. It's a very interesting book. And it will show you how in the US, in the Forbes magazine, I think in 2019, the Jewish only attribute 1% of the US population, but they contributed 40% of the top billionaires in the US at that time. Ask yourself, what is it that they did and how are they doing it to remain on top? Please make sure, as you look for a business partner, yourself and your partner be anchored in certain values, and also do your 10-10-10 like I always say. When I partner with this person, what are the results in the next 10 seconds, 10 minutes, 10 hours, 10 days, 10 weeks, 10 months, and 10 years? If you see the value of the 10 years, do your 10-10-10 back, and definitely partner. If you see it's a red flag, my friend, sprint. Thank you. Brutal Facts with Frank Mola, going back to being 40. Asante sana.
Like John Cena, some man I get buff like John Cena. We used to be cool when I used to come through. Now you wanna act tough like John Cena. Some gala want beef like hyena. Some gala get beat, I'm Serena. The gala get loud, the gala get wild. Some gala take shots like tequila. Hypo. Unajifanya mwalimu wangu labda we ni Nyerere. Nanfundisha kutulia labda huna kelele. Takarika na Belinda hata mimi mwenyewe. Ungependa situlia kati we unaenda mbele. Lakini mimi nimekupenda though. I don't know why you treat me like a criminal. Ay, we were just together though. On the same line, right presidential though. Some man I act rough like John Cena. Some man I get buff like John Cena. He used to be cool when I used to come through. Now you wanna act tough like John Cena. Hey, G, it's G. Some gala want beef like hyena. Some gala get beat like Serena. Hey, ha, hey. Some gala take shots like tequila. Get it down. G, hi, bo, G. G, hey, G. Alright, T-boy the flame. DJ exit.